All right, I'm going to do this one more time here. So we've created a second artboard, and we did that by going into the window, artboards, and then we went and clicked add a new artboard, and we named one artboard demo, and the new one we named design. Okay, so now we're going to go on our design, and we added another layer, and we named it sketch, and we named the one we had art. And the sketch layer we moved below the art. We're going to go up here to file, place, and we're going to pick an image, our marker images. And I have a bunch of images I scanned for our lecture later. So I'm going to grab one of my pictures. I'm going to grab and place it. Notice how it's much bigger than my page. No worry. So it's right there. It's on the sketch layer, and I know that because it's red and this little X that's going across is red. So my sketch layer is red. I can see my art layer is blue. And so I know I'm on the right layer because it's highlighted and it's red. Okay. So then I can lock that in place. But if I want to have, let's say I have a sketch page like this with all kinds of other sketches, and I just want this woman in the middle. I don't want all this other stuff. I can do something that will help get rid of all that extra stuff that's very distracting. I'm just going to go over to my shape tool and draw a rectangle around. I'm going to make it with no fill so I can see it. I'm going to just draw it around the part of my sketches or my marker roughs that I want. And so I've selected it. I've grabbed both. I've selected both the sketch and the square that I just put there. And I'm going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make, or Command 7. And now I can see just the one that I want to focus on. And if I want to adjust this clipping mask, I can select just the square and adjust it. And notice when I'm clicking, you can still see the big square of all of the other image. So you can see that square is still showing up, but it's just hidden. And now once I have what I want, I'm going to lock it so that I don't move it while I'm working. So I've locked my sketch in place. Okay, did everyone get a chance to bring your marker finals in and put them on their own layer and then lock them in place? Okay, thanks, Nancy. Nancy's good to go. All right. So then there's a couple more tools we didn't get to that we're going to talk about now. Last class, we talked about the pen tool, the curvature tool, the shape tool, but we didn't talk about the pencil. And the pencil is actually going to be a really handy tool for us. So, but there's a couple features that I really want to highlight when we use the pencil and some settings that'll help us do a lot with the pencil. So there is, if you have a right click on your computer, or you can do a double click on the pencil. There's a couple different, depending on the mouse and the keyboard you have, this window that I just popped open works a couple different ways. I double clicked on the pencil, and when I'm in my home computer, that's what I do. And it shows me the pencil tool options. If that didn't work for you, there's a key on the new Mac keyboards that has a little globe on it. I don't have it on my keyboard because I have an old keyboard, but the newer keyboards have this globe on it, and you have to press that globe and then double click to get this pencil tool options to open. I learned that on our school lab. So if anyone's working in our school labs, that's how it works. But for me here at home, I just double click it. Did you guys get this tool options open? Does everyone have it?
Okay. I don't see the pencil tool.
Okay, it's underneath the shape tool. And if you click and hold, there's other tools underneath it, so it might have got tucked underneath it.
Or you
Let me
can press
cancel.
on the search and type pencil.
Right, so there's a paintbrush, a blob brush, and a pencil tool, all in the same area. So the paintbrush might be the top, and you need to click it down to the pencil tool. So it should be under the paintbrush. You see it? All right, good. Yeah, it's a little hidden. Thank you for bringing that up. It does get, mine was up because I was using it. And that's the other thing to be aware of. Once you pull a tool up from the one that's stacked underneath other tools, it will stay up when you reopen the program. It won't go back under. It'll stay up. So it'll always stay on the last tool you use. So since I've used this tool recently, mine was on top. But if you haven't used it, it'll be underneath the paintbrush. Okay, so when you open it up, the fidelity is right in the middle. Accurate's to the left, smooth is to the right. I find it helpful to move it over to the right when we're tracing to smooth. I'm going to uncheck the fill new pencil strokes. I don't want to necessarily fill it. I like to keep it aligned. I want to keep it selected. I also want to check the option key toggles to smooth tool. I want to close the paths when the ends are within 5 pixels. And I want to be able to edit selected paths within 6 pixels. And so when you have all of those chosen, go ahead and click OK. Now you notice I'm still on my sketch layer, which I locked. And notice how there's a little symbol next to the pencil. It's like do not. It's like a circle with a line through it, the do not. So it's telling me that I can't draw here. And it's because I'm on a locked layer. I can't draw here because I'm on a locked layer. So I need to move up to the art layer in the layers palette. So now I can draw. And you'll see it's blue because I'm in a blue layer, the art layer. So I'm going to zoom in, and I want you to work and really zoom in on your artwork so you're nice and tight. And now I'm going to bring the brush, and I'm just going to do my best using a mouse. Try not to do this with your finger on a trackpad. That's really difficult. But I'm not going to get too worried if I'm not perfectly on. Oops. I'm going to keep going. And I'm just kind of real rough trying to draw. And I'm using my mouse. And I mean, I would recommend you go slower than I am. I'm demoing, so I'm kind of going ridiculously fast at this. And I'm just worrying about the outlines. We'll come in and deal with the inner shapes. So here's my, there. Now I closed it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And again, I'm doing it kind of rough. Make another oval, kind of rough. Another oval, there. Okay. So notice how I have nothing. If I look over here on the left toolbar, there's 2 squares. One is an outline, one is a fill. They're both set to nothing. No strokes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my selection tool, and I'm going to go ahead and make a big box over everything I just drew so I can select the path I just made. That's just a path. There's no pen happening. It's just a path. And I'm going to click on this, on just the stroke, which is the box that has a hole in the middle. That means stroke. And you're going to see the color over here popped open. And I'm just going to make it a color. I'm not going to make it black because my marker is black. So I'm going to make it a nice bright color that I can see over black. Any color doesn't matter. Okay. Now, now I'm back on my art, and I'm using my direct select tool this time, which is the white filled triangle. And I'm kind of adjusting my path. I'm kind of looking at it. adjusting like, what do I want? Now these are some parts of this path that I can play with. I can move each point individually with the direct select tool. And then each of these curves have what they call a bezining handle, and they allow you to move and adjust the shape of the curve. But here you can see when I zoom in, this became a really straight line, and I didn't really want it that straight. There is a curve there, but it's not really working for me. So there's a couple ways I can handle this. One is I can bring my pencil, I selected it, it still has to be selected. I can bring my pencil in and then revise this line. And you see how it just came in and revised it. I just drew right over the top of it. I said, you know what? I didn't draw that very good. And I can go in and I can keep doing it a million times. I'm gonna go a little more there. You see, and I can just take this pencil tool and get in there nice and tight. And now I'm being a little bit more, here I can see that I didn't complete the shape. Go up tight. Zoom, zoom, zoom. So look at this. This is an incomplete shape. So I'm going to go ahead and use my direct select this, and grab my pencil tool again and kind of connect it. There, I just connected that shape. I also realized I wanted a little thinner and to fit my design better, so I can adjust it. And this is just, the nice thing about this is when you're dealing with the pen tool, you got to really play with those bezining curves, and that can be so frustrating as a new user to Illustrator, when I think the pencil and using it this way with the smooth tool can be much easier. Look how I can change the whole scale of the whole shape by just grabbing the bounding box of this shape. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I can adjust the whole shape by adjusting the bounding box. So I'm not touching the path, I'm touching the bounding box around the path. And I'm using the selection tool. If I want to adjust the path itself, I need to be in the direct selection tool. Then I can go in and adjust specific points in the design if I want to. Okay. But even then, I would avoid that because I think that can get into those bezining curves, and that can be real frustrating as a new user. So here's another one. Here's another path. It has a goofy, it doesn't match my design at all. I'm going to grab my pencil tool again, and I'm going to say, you know what? The line is selected. You have to have the line selected to make these edits. And once you do that, oh, now you can see that didn't really work well. I think one of the things I might need to do is not crisscross these points. So I'm going to use my direct selection tool and just pull these points apart. There. Now I'm going to go back into my pencil tool. I'm going to select and connect this. And now I can kind of finesse my overall shape. I want it to be more round. I don't like what I did over here. That's kind of weird. There we go. So, and you can keep going. So now I can grab my selection tool and say, I think the shape's good. It's just a little too big, or I want to just adjust the scale of it. So there I am, just adjusting the scale. I can also rotate it if I wanted to. I can take the corner of the box and rotate it. Okay, so this is how I share this technique with you because it's a little easier to use the pencil. It's a lot easier. Let me back up. It's a lot easier to use the pencil tool than the pen tool when we're starting out in Illustrator. I did a rough sketch and then I'm going in and tweaking it. I would recommend you spend more time on your sketch than I did tracing it. Now there's another way to trace existing, artwork that you scan in, and it's automatically going to trace it. I'm not a huge fan of it. I actually was trained in Illustrator to never use it, but I know it's gotten much better than it has been in the past. And so I'm going to just create another layer, a new layer, and I'm going to call it art image trace.
I've used it a couple times and I've seen that it makes like an abundance of points, but it's relatively okay, except when it comes to detail, then it kind of uh
Yes. Thank you, Luna. I appreciate that because that is exactly the problem with image trace. Image trace will make a million points. And you just saw me smoothing it and really having very few points. Let me talk about what that means. So let me go back into our art file real quick. So notice how when I select this path, especially as I go in and finesse it, there are very few points, just where I need them. There's nothing extra, nothing that we don't need, just what we need. When we do image trace, every one of these little bumps is going to become a point. Every little bump is going to become a point. And what that means is the way Illustrator works as vector art, it's data. And so every point is data and changes the scale of the megabytes of our image. So when you have an image that you trace with image trace, which is a computer generated tracing, it's going to have a million points around it. And then you need to go in and reduce the points with the smooth tool and get rid of those points. Because what you're doing is making a giant file that if we go send it out to print, or let's say we wanted to do a Glowforge tracing of it or use it in our Cricut printer, none of those things would work because it would be too big and it would jam the machine because it would just take so much memory. It'd be too big memory wise because all those points add data and they cost us in scale and size of the file and complexity. So they can cause lots of problems. And so when you go to create work for production, image trace is like the worst. And when I was in college, we were not allowed to use image trace. But I do know it is a practice that a lot of your instructors are going to encourage you. So I'm gonna introduce you to it, but I'm also going to say if you're going to use it, be aware it's not like you're going to have less editing to do. You're still going to have to go in and edit. And it's going to be the opposite. Where here you're finessing every little detail. There you're going to be reducing points. So it'll be kind of the same thing. So I'm going to close that off. I'm going to go to image trace. And I rarely use this, so it's going to take me a second. There it is, image trace. Okay. So we have an in art. Or do I have to be on the image? I think I might have to be on the image layer. Image trace.
I'm pretty sure the image also has to be embedded for it to work.
I think you're right. I have to be on the image. So let's go on to our sketch layer. I'm unlocking it. I'm clicking onto our sketch. And I want to make sure I don't trace this other thing. So I'm gonna adjust my box here. Hold on a second. So that I don't include the things I don't want. There we go. Scan. So I might have to re-bring it in, is what you're saying? I don't know if I can change it once I brought it in. Let's see. Object. No, let me replace it. I think I might have to replace it to embed it.
Yeah.
I think I do. So let me re-add it in. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll add another one in. I'm gonna delete this. Go file, place. No, I guess. Where's my girl? Where is she? Oops. There she is. Okay, right, there she is. Okay. So right over here on the left, you see it says it's a linked file. And I click on it and you can see it's linked. Relink. Can I embed it or do I have to enter it as an embedded? I rarely use image trace, so give me a second to remember my steps here. Embed, there it is. Okay. So it's a linked file right now. I'm going to click up on the top here. It says embed. And I can go ahead and click it. And then you can see image trace is also right up here. So now I can say image trace. And then it says tracing result with outlines. Oh, it did everything. I thought it would just do the one if I had my clipping mask. So, all right, so you can see, here's an outline of everything on my page. So here it is with the outlines, tracing result with outlines. Here's just the outlines. Here's outline with the source image. Here's just the source image. So I'm going to say tracing result with outlines. And then next to it, you can say convert tracing object into paths. And you're going to hit the word expand. So here's expand. So now here's everything expanded. And now you can see if I look across the top, I can choose things like stroke. So I can say, okay, how big of a stroke do I want on this? I'm going to say a 1 point, just so we can look at it. And it's still in my turquoise, right? 100% opacity style, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to let go. So let's move my sketch up to the top. Art and image trace. So it's on my sketch layer. Okay, let go. So I'm going to zoom in. Let's take a look at the results. I'm going to get rid of my clipping masks. Object, clipping mask, release. Object, ungroup. Everything is grouped right now. It drew things for everybody here. All right, so everything is ungrouped. I should be able to delete those, delete those. All right, it traced everything, as you can see. So I'm just kind of deleting all the extra things I don't want. Delete, delete, delete. All right. All right, so here's my lady. Let's look at what it did. And you got to get real close in this to see. So here's the image trace. So there's a couple wonky things. And let's look at how many points we have on here. Not terrible, not terrible. Like this is a real wonky little curve and has a really sharp point. And you can see this also feels like a sharp point. It's very computery. So I'm going to do a couple things before I get started. I'm going to keep the original. So here's the original and it's under sketch. I'm going to click and drag this down to the plus. And now I've made a copy of the whole thing. So I'm going to close one. by turning it off. The sketch copy, I'm going to say sketch working instead of copy. I want to have the original because if things go haywire, I want to be able to always go back to my original. So first things first, make a copy. And now I can get in here and look at what I can do to change and make this a little bit more elegant. So again, I'm going to select the pieces. And actually this, I'm not going to lie, is pretty good of a sketch. Not too many points. I'm pretty impressed. And I know it is getting better than it used to be. I feel like every iteration, and we just updated all of the Adobe Suite. It has all been updated as of October. So, and we updated all of our labs as of January. So I haven't played with this since the update, and I have to say it's looking pretty good. So let's say we did image trace. Here we have this kind of like real clunky, I want to show you this curl. This is a curly Q on a curly hair. This does not look very fluid. What happened? Where did I go? Zoom out. Oh, there it is. I moved it on accident. There we go. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Command plus and command minus allows you to zoom in and out. Command plus and command minus. So you're watching me kind of zoom in and out. I'm using command plus and minus. I'm holding the space bar down to move around my artboard. I'm holding that space bar around. Okay, so here's this fluid curl. Well, this looks very choppy and it has a corner, like a sharp corner. This is supposed to be a curl of hair, so it shouldn't have a sharp corner here and it shouldn't have a sharp corner here. How do we fix that? There's a couple ways. When I select it with my direct select tool, undo. Let me just see something. It's got a fill and an outline. Yeah, I have a fill and an outline. So I'm looking at, there's a couple ways we can do this. One, the pencil tool. If we hit the option key with our pencil tool, you'll see it turns into a little circle because we said it could turn to a smooth tool. So we can use that to adjust anything that we want to be more curvy. But that doesn't really work on these sharp corners. It might work in an area that needs to be a little smoother, like a smoothing curve. But this corner needs to be using a tool. If I click on the pen tool, underneath the pen tool is what we call the anchor point tool. This is the tool we need to fix corners. It's called the anchor point tool, and it looks like a little V. If I click on that, and you're dragging out these little handles. So notice how I'm clicking on it and I'm dragging little handles. That's one way. I'm going to undo that, go back to the sharp corner, and I'm going to see if there's something even easier than to have to mess with the corners. And that is, this is a stroke, and we have a stroke palette here on the right. And it looks like 3 little lines and it says stroke. Notice how there's a cap with a square. If we click the middle one, it's called a rounded cap. But then look at the corner. There's a sharp corner and a rounded corner. And a rounded corner, or in a blunt corner. So I'm going to choose the rounded corner for my stroke of my whole object. Now, sometimes that'll automatically fix this, but not always. So here I'm going to pull these 2 Bezier curves out and they come twice. I'm noticing that there's 2. Why do I have 2? I'm going to delete one. For some reason I had 2. I don't know if did anyone else get 2 copies? And I just noticed it when I was adjusting the line that there was another one underneath. So here now I'm going to round this off, and again, you just grab the corners, and it's a little getting used to it. It's called a Bezier curve handles, and it's really kind of awkward, but you can play with it. You can move each point when you're in the white direct select tool. So I'm going to kind of be now that I've got the handles out, I've made the original curves with my anchor tool. I'm going to go back to my white direct select arrow and just play with the adjustment because I want this to be nice and round and really see the corners of the curves. I'm sorry, not corners, the curves that I'm looking for. And I can play with these handles all along my line and my path with my direct select tool, making adjustments. So now if we look at this, looks like a curl. Let's look at the next one that the computer did. This is what the computer's looks like. So look closely, look at those sharp angular edges. That's what the computer did. I had to go in and play with the curve to give it a curve. So that's what you have to really watch for. You can't just say with image trace, I'm going to just trace it and it's done, because it does look pretty good. It does look pretty good. Oh, I moved it around. Now you can see it's all out of whack. Let's get it back into position. Boom. So let's look at what it does. So it created this shape. I'm just pulling it apart a little so you could see it. So it created this shape for the black. And then it created a white shape here for the white, and then another shape for the black, and another shape. So it's going to make like all of these layers. So and that's, you know, the way the computer's doing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm like looking at it. I'm like, okay, got it. I'm going to line these back up. Line it all back up. There we go. Well, I suppose I should show us our align tools. Let's look at our align tools. So we have, where are they? They're not showing up in this window. So we need to go to our align under window. We'll open the alignment window. Here it is. So this is mine is a really kind of organic asymmetrical shape. I'm not sure if this will align everything. Yeah, it's going to make weird things. It's going to do weird things. Let's see if I can select it all. Yeah, see, it's going to not let me align it in a way that makes sense. So I don't think I can use my align tools properly. Align to artboard, align to key object. Yeah, I think I'm going to just leave it and do it by eye. Now I can take this fill out so I can see better. I can just turn off the fill and get in here and really just see. Actually, I can do something even better. Let me show you something else. I'm going to undo that. Command Z is undo. Anytime you want to undo something, Command Z will be your best friend. It's undo. Okay, so the way to align these perfectly and to see what we're doing is we're going to go to View, Outline. When we go into Outline View, all we're seeing is the outline. We're not going to see anything but the outline. So I can literally kind of come in here and adjust and make sure everything is aligning and sitting on the same lines. So I can get in here and make edits and stuff like that. So it's really handy to sometimes switch over to outline mode to get everything aligning just the way I want it. There. So those are aligning. I think I changed one of them. Did I change one of these, or what's going on with this? Oh, there we go. So I'm aligning that. Oops, undo. I'm align the individual. So there we go. There, everything's lining up. So now I can see that all my lines are aligning. I can go back to my view of using CPU. I'm sorry, screen mode, normal screen mode, view, present, screen, full screen mode. Nope, not full screen mode. I don't want full screen view. Pixel preview. There we go. View, overprint preview. There we go. Not pixel overprint is what you want. Now I can see, once again, my different lines. Now I can turn off the outline altogether because obviously we're not really going to have an outline, so I can make it have no outline. So now I'm just looking at the design, and that can help me kind of get these curves. But I wanted to really highlight the difference of when I adjusted the curves versus what the computer does. So you need to go into each section, and up here we can see here's a weird funky area. How do I want to adjust that? And kind of come in and decide, you know, what do I want that to be looking like? Okay, I'm going to pause here and see if we have any questions.